What's up? What's up? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me know if you can hear me. All right. What we got going on? What we got going on? Take care of some of these technical difficulties. What's up, Coach? You pay for an app and you expect it to work the right way every single time you use it. Every time I use this thing, I got to go in here into these settings and update these settings. There we go. Save. It gets annoying after a while. All right. Let's see. So we may end this broadcast and come right back. Okay, this will work. Okay. All right. Let me know you're watching. If you're on, go ahead and post in the comments. Say what's up. Say good afternoon. Good evening, depending on where you are in the world. We'll make this quick. This is our second edition of Wealth Talk Tuesdays. Last week, I said Wealth Tip Tuesdays, and I have no idea why I said Wealth Tip Tuesdays, because my original idea, my original game plan was to call it Wealth Talk Tuesdays. So let's do a quick poll. What do you think sounds better, Wealth Talk Tuesdays or Wealth Tip Tuesdays? And to give you an idea of what Wealth Talk Tuesdays is about, it's not so much just tips. It's really a conversation around wealth and wealth building, and it's designed to kind of give you some quick insights, some quick hitters on the concept, the idea, the process, the journey of actually building wealth over the course of your lifetime. So again, my idea was to call it Wealth Talk Tuesdays, and if nobody holds me accountable to it, I'm going to go ahead and change the name and say Wealth Talk Tuesdays instead of Wealth Tip Tuesdays. So if you're watching this, do me a favor, go ahead and share this to your timeline. You are watching this live and direct. Share this to your time. If you are not already following my fan page, do me a favor and like my fan page. Help a brother out. Help me build up those likes. You're already following me on my personal profile, but if you're following me on my fan page, there's a lot more content and a lot more information that I publish on fan page. So make sure you actually follow the fan page. So today, let's get into it. Go ahead if you have any questions, you have any comments. Also, feel free to post in the comment section. I am watching the comments as best I can. The app is not working. The StreamYard is not working as good as it should be today, but nonetheless, we'll keep working. Now, I don't know what the title of this video is today, but I think it's carrying over. But anyway, what's up? Hey, got a hand wave. What's up? All right, so today for Wealth Talk Tuesdays, we're going to talk briefly about the 4 quadrants. The 4 quadrants. If you know what the 4 quadrants are, raise your hand. What are the 4 quadrants? And whose theory or thought process is the 4 quadrants? If you know, raise your hand. If not, it's cool. We'll talk about it. And what we'll do is actually I'll spend the next month for Wealth Talk Tuesdays. I'll spend the next month kind of talking about the 4 quadrants, and then there's some additional stuff that I got going on. You want to stay abreast of investing news, particularly when we talk about wealth. I specialize in real estate, so I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the real estate side, but I'm also going to bring you a lot of the information and a lot of the content across the entire spectrum of business and entrepreneurship and investing. All of that goes hand in hand in terms of making that wealth journey. But if you want to stay abreast, you want to stay connected, you want to receive some information each and every week, check out the Wealth Checkup e-newsletter. It's an e-newsletter that I publish by email every single week, every single Wednesday. You can sign up for that by going to the page, and on the menu on the left-hand side, there is an option that says sign up for the Wealth Checkup e-newsletter. I'll put that, I should put a comment, I'll put a, not a comment, but I'll put a link to that in the comments of this video towards the end of it, so you can go ahead and sign up for that. It's real quick, first name and email, and then you'll automatically start to get the Wealth Checkup again each and every Wednesday automatically. So okay, I see you, DeVoe. So are we referring to real estate? So that's a great question. Actually, when we talk about wealth, there are a lot of different definitions where people have different ideas of what wealth is and what wealth consists of. But when you get into the highest levels of business, when you get into the highest levels of personal finance, there is a pretty clear definition of what wealth truly is. Now, that's financial wealth. Wealth comes in a lot of different forms, and we'll talk about the different forms as time goes on, and we'll talk about the different ways that the different forms come together and ultimately collectively combine to a whole, if you live in balance and you live more in a holistic standpoint. But from a wealth standpoint, financial wealth standpoint, a personal wealth standpoint, it's a pretty clear definition. It's a situation where you have a sufficient amount of residual income coming from your investments. And that means whether you get up today or whether you don't get up today, in terms of getting out of bed, whether you leave the house, you still have money, residual investments that are sufficient to cover all of your expenses and to provide for whatever your daily, monthly, yearly living situation is. That income comes from your investments as a residual. So that's kind of the clear shortcut answer. And then there are different ways that stack up that passive income. But if you want to get to the highest levels of wealth and personal finance, you're going to do it through one or two ways, and ultimately, not one or two ways, but you're going to do it through a couple of different ways, and then ultimately end up in real estate, either through the creation or the preservation of that wealth. All right, so let's jump into it. So the 4 quadrants, all right, the 4 quadrants. Now, when we talk about wealth, we're talking, first you have to talk about the mindset and the understanding. And the vast majority of people, myself included, one of the reasons why I do this is because this segment and this information in this information sharing is for what I call first generation wealth builders. Now, by definition, that's going to be the vast majority of people, but most people aren't going to realize that they are first generation wealth builders. Again, remember the definition of what we talked about in terms of essentially achieving financial freedom. So if you are a first generation wealth builder, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, your parents or family didn't own, you know, some real estate, didn't own some cars, you know, some businesses, but they may not have actually achieved full financial freedom. So if we talk being that first generation wealth builder, then that spans the entire scope from whether you start out in poverty, you start out in middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, middle class, wherever you are, there's a journey and there's an endpoint that you can reach. And that's where we talk about that first generation wealth builder. So as part of that process, there's a lot of information, a lot of skills, a lot of experience, a lot of things that you have to accumulate over the course of a lifetime to be able to, one, earn and achieve wealth, to grow your wealth, and then ultimately to preserve wealth, right? A lot of people who earn a lot of money, who earn significant significant amounts of money or even reach or and obtain, true wealth, they may not always be able to preserve it. So when you talk about wealth, you want to talk about it in those three segments. You want to earn it, you want to grow it, and you want to be able to preserve it. So talking about the 4 quadrants, all right, and I'll draw this out so you all can see this, and hopefully I get this right. All right. I'm gonna hold this up so you can see. All right, we're talking about the 4 quadrants. All right, I'm going live on Instagram too, so if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my phone and I need to pick up another tripod. All right, so the 4 quadrants. We have left-hand side. We have the E at the top. We have the S at the bottom. And then on the right-hand side, we have the B at the top. And then we have the I at the bottom. So if you are watching this, can you give a guess, or not even a guess if you know, what does the E stand for? What does the S stand for? What does the B stand for? And what does the I stand for in this quadrant? And we'll call this the cash flow quadrant. All right. That's the cash flow quadrant. So does anybody know what the E stands for, what the S stands for, what the B stands for, and what the I stands for? I'll give it a sec. And hopefully I won't miss the comments. Multitask to make sure that everything is still up and running. Okay. All right. I don't know why that. Let me edit this post real quick. All right, so let me not get distracted. All right, so the E in the quadrant. E stands for employee. S stands for small business owner. B stands for, and I stands for investor. All right, E stands for employee. S stands for small business owner. B stands for business owner. I stands for investor. So at some point in time during your journey throughout life and through your journey in, again, accumulating, earning, growing, and then preserving wealth, there's a journey that you have to go through from a skill and most importantly from a mindset standpoint. Now, the vast majority of people, when we talk about mindset, most people are stuck right here in what's called the E quadrant. All right. Now, the E quadrant is when you have strictly an employee-based mindset. All right. That employee-based mindset means that when it comes to how you earn your money, actually, I shouldn't go too far in, but I'll go over E today. I'll go over a bit. But in terms of your employee mindset, you strictly earn your income strictly from working for someone else. That's how you earn your income. If you're in the S quadrant, you may earn your income. You may be in the S quadrant as well as the E quadrant because you have a part-time job. The S quadrant is when you're going to be a small business owner. Maybe you started a business on the side. Maybe you've been running a business for 10 years or 20 years. But that S in small really is based on the quantity of people that you're able to serve, the amount of products you're able to deliver, in terms of the quantity of customers and clients that you're able to service in any given year. So when you say small business, there are levels to small business, but essentially the difference between the S quadrant and the B quadrant, which is business ownership, is the amount of people that you can service in any amount of time. And to get from the S quadrant to the B quadrant, It more so is based on whether or not you can create a system within your business and still be able to deliver your product and your service without that product or service being wholly dependent upon to be able to deliver that service. All right. So, and then going on to the I quadrant, the I quadrant is the investor quadrant, where you're able to earn money based on the fact that you have some whatever amount of money. If you can take money and use it to make money, and the money is doing all of the work, then that's the I quadrant. So again, the four quadrants of the four cash flow quadrants are E, S, B, and I. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, in terms of that wealth talk. And then again, over the course of the next couple of weeks, I'll digging deeper to the E quadrant, the S quadrant, and the B quadrant, the I quadrant. But think about the limitation when it comes to building wealth, when it comes to even increasing your income. A part of building wealth also equates to being able to increase your income. If you are only limited to an employee mindset, if you are only limited to the E quadrant, then you are going to have a difficult time in increasing your income and increasing your income substantially to the level where you can actually begin to start building wealth. And now a lot of times people who have strictly an E mindset, they don't want to dive into entrepreneurship. They don't want to dive into small business ownership, which is fine. But if you are not going to dive into the S quadrant or the B quadrant, then you're going to have to learn how to operate within the I quadrant, which is investor. And in order to be an investor, you obviously have to have a sufficient amount of money for you to be able to invest, as well as to be able to cover your everyday expenses, and things like that. So that's what we want to talk about today. If you have any questions, I wanted to keep these short. Again, Wealth Talk Tuesdays, not designed to go into too much detail. On Wednesday, again, every Wednesday, I publish an e-newsletter directly to your inbox. On Thursdays, I've got a new content piece coming up on Thursdays. I was trying to hold off on it, but one thing I'll tell you, for anybody who's out here creating, for anybody who has plans to do this and to do that, one of the things that you have to stop doing is you have to stop waiting until everything is perfect. And sometimes you just gotta go ahead and start moving and not worrying about the perfection. Just get started, and then over time you can make the adjustments that you need to make or that you want to make to get that product or to get that piece or to get whatever it is you're working on, to get it fine-tuned and to get it to the level or the how you want it. But the most important thing is to just start. So probably this Thursday we'll get started with a wealth checkup. That's going to be more of a show where we've got a lot of things going on, but nonetheless, Wealth Talk Tuesdays. Let me know if you have any questions. If not, make sure, again, you follow my fan page. Make sure you share this video and start thinking about, where is your mindset today? Are you strictly in the E quadrant? Are you in the S quadrant? Are you in the B quadrant? Are you in the I quadrant? And if you're in either one of them, is it benefit you to understand and adopt the mindset of the other quadrants? Now, I'll cover that again in a lot more detail, but I'll tell you that in order to build wealth, you want to have the skill set and the mindset of all four quadrants so that you can utilize the leverage points of each quadrant as you make your journey throughout this lifetime and build up wealth. Now, I'll leave you with this. The vast majority of people who have built wealth, not even the vast majority of people, everyone who has built wealth started out with nothing at some point in time. So don't allow the idea, oh, there's a different class of people, the wealthy class and the poor class. There are different classes of people because of the amounts of money they have and the amounts of money that they earn. But remember, everyone started somewhere. Now, there are some people who have been doing it for generations, right? And if you're a minority, if you're Black, right? Like if you're Black, if you're Hispanic, if you Asian, I mean, depending on what part of Asia, some parts of Asia, they've done, much better than others in building, generational wealth. But for the vast majority of people, there are literally millions of people who reach millionaire status every single year. And just because you're millionaire status doesn't mean you're wealthy. But the point I'm trying to make is, no matter where you are today, over the course of the next 10 years, the next 15 years, the next 20 years, the next 30 years, you can build wealth. And if you stay strictly in the employee paradigm, at some point in time, you are going to reach and it's going to be a limit that in terms of earning, it's going to be a limit in terms of control over your destiny. And you don't want to be on the trajectory that happens with most people, right? Most people have this trajectory where they go up, life is good, and then it plateaus, and then they age, and then it starts to go down because in their older years, they have the financial means or the financial resources to continue to provide at the same level or better in terms of the quality of life that they experience during their working years. So wealth is important. Building up wealth is important. Accumulating the knowledge so you can pass down the knowledge is important. So again, don't worry about where you are. One thing we'll talk about on Wealth Talk Tuesdays, I just thought about this, but we'll also talk about the velocity of money. Money has a velocity, and for some people, for some individuals, for some entities, that velocity of money is extremely fast. Depending on what type of hustle you're in, the velocity of money is very fast, and then in others is very slow. But I'll tell you this, one thing that is important when it comes to under velocity of money, that velocity and how fast or how slow it comes and goes in your life has a lot to do with your mindset and your understanding of the nuances of how money moves and the fact that money does have a speed in which it travels. And so in 10 years, there are people just in this 10-year stretch from 2008 to 2010 or 2010 to 2020, and that 10-year economic boom, there were a lot of people who accumulated wealth. And just as quickly as people accumulated wealth in that 10-year stretch, there are a lot of people who have lost all of their wealth or a significant amount of their wealth and then are currently losing it as this economy has downturned. So a lot can happen in 10 years, a lot can happen in 5 years, only if you understand the mechanics of how money moves and the mechanics of investing, the mechanics of business, the mechanics of entrepreneurship, and most importantly, the mechanics of your mindset, mechanics of how confidence comes into play and how skill set comes into play when it comes to making and earning and investing in all those different types of things. So I got a little off track. Sometimes I do that. I love to talk, but nonetheless, thank you for logging on to Wealth Talk Tuesdays. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, anything that you want me to talk about on one of these conversations, send me a message, a direct message. Make sure you comment in the comment section, and be sure to look out every Tuesday for Wealth Talk Tuesdays. If you don't catch it live, don't worry. Will be published on my fan page, so you will be able to check out every Tuesday the conversation that we had. And then again, make sure you sign up for that e-newsletter. Make sure you like that fan page, and be sure to share this information, with your friends and family. One of the things that I'm passionate about, and one piece is in terms of my life mission, is to empower and educate other people to be able to have these wealth principles, to have this wealth building mindset, so that we can continue to eliminate the wealth gap that exists throughout our culture, that exists throughout the different ethnic groups. It's simply a matter of knowledge and information, and then application of that knowledge and that information. But the difference is the access and the obtaining of that information. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, studying the nuances of wealth, studying the nuances of investing, studying the nuances of real estate, going out and applying that, getting results, obtaining success, obtaining failure, and then bringing that information back to you all, so that you can feel educated, you can feel empowered, and then you can go out and make your own moves, make your own decisions, and change the trajectory of your story as well as the trajectory of your family story. And ultimately, the goal is to have control over your destiny, control over your life, so that no matter what happens, what you encounter, you are fiscally and financially able to withstand that, and to be able to still provide for yourself and your family. So that's the goal. I appreciate y'all for logging on. I see I got some folks on IG. If you're on IG, you'll be able to see the rest of this video, the video in full Instagram TV. I will save that. If you want to follow me on Facebook, just go to my profile, use the link tree in the profile, and it'll give you a couple options where you can follow. You can follow my fan page. You can add me on Facebook, all of that good stuff. So make sure you get connected. Let's continue to share. Let's continue to navigate through COVID-19. Let's continue to stay healthy and utilize this time to do whatever it is you have been setting off and putting to the side. There is no greater time for you to invest in yourself and to invest in your ideas and to actually put things out into the atmosphere. So just share that with you. I appreciate y'all for logging on. I'll see you again probably tomorrow. If not later, I'll probably be posting some later today. And I appreciate y'all. Peace.